If you're not happy with your ballpoint pen drawings, you're probably making the same mistake most beginners make, which is jumping straight into detail without properly building on form and structure. In this video, I'm going to be teaching why detail should actually be the last thing you think about. Before I add a single scale or texture line, there's one rule I follow that controls the entire drawing. And once you see it applied here, the form starts reading almost immediately. So when I approach something like this dragon's horn, I always start with structure first. I grab a pencil and lightly map out what I'm visualizing, whether the horn curves, stays straight, or bends somewhere in between. At this stage, I'm not thinking about detail at all. I'm just thinking about the form in space. And by form in space, I simply mean understanding the object as a 3D structure before adding the details. Once the structure feels right, the next thing I decide is the light source, which is already determined in this example, coming in from the top right. So naturally, the top surface of the horn will catch more light, while the underside will begin to fall into the shadow. And before I continue any further, you will notice the horn already has an outline here. Normally, I wouldn't outline the light side like this, because it flattens the form, but in this case, it's just part of the initial sketch. Once the shading goes in, the values will take over and that edge will become less noticeable. I always begin very light, and I'm not committing to any details yet, just literally mapping out how the surface curves away from the light. That's my only objective at this point. And if you notice, something interesting happens here. Even though we're at the very early stages of the horn, even without any texture, it already starts to feel rounded, showing the power of getting the structure and lighting correct first. Because the horn is basically a curved cylindrical form, the shading has to follow that exact curvature. So instead of random strokes, I let the pen follow the direction the surface is turning. Notice how the darkest values sit where the surface turns furthest away from the light, and that highlight in the middle should stay almost untouched. Even at this early stage, the form is starting to read as three-dimensional. That's because every stroke is following the structure of the surface. And this idea is actually the foundation behind something I released recently called No Erasing, which is a training manual for ballpoint pen realism that focuses on building control and discipline. One of the core exercises inside it trains exactly this: stroke direction following form. Instead of jumping straight into complex drawings, you practice simple forms like cylinders and spheres first. And the important goal is to train your hand so every line describes volume. This exact exercise trains your hand to understand curved surfaces, which is essentially what the dragon horn is. And once that habit is built, it becomes much easier to apply to more complex designs like this one right here. Once the form is working, I can start introducing the segmentations of the horn, the lines that wrap around the form following the same curvature. This is important because if the lines ignore that structure, the horn will immediately start to look flat again. And this is where a lot of beginners start to do the opposite. They will start drawing cracks, textures and scales, but if the underlying form isn't correct, no amount of detail will save the drawing. Once the horn structure is established, the same rule applies to the rest of the dragon. The neck muscles, the scales, the claws, everything follows the same principle. Remember, structure first, light second, and detail last. Before I move any further, just to add in a little lesson here. Every time I add shading, I'm asking myself the same question: how is this surface turning relative to the light? Because once that's clear, the rest will become easier. And once I have all those forms start working together, the entire dragon begins to feel much more three-dimensional. So if your ballpoint pen drawings feel flat, try slowing down before jumping into detail, bringing your focus on structure first, lighting second, and texture last. That one change alone can completely transform how your drawings read. If you're interested in the drills and exercises that train this kind of control, I've linked the No Erasing manual below. And if you enjoy seeing the process behind these tattoo designs, I share breakdowns on my Instagram and TikTok. And if you've made it till the end of the video, a like will be really appreciated. And also comment any questions you have for me below. Before I let you go, remember, keep practicing and improvement will be inevitable.